Jeremiah chapters 18 and 19 use an analogy of pottery to describe the Lord's relationship with Israel. This begins immediately in Jeremiah 18, verses 1 through 4. The word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord, "Arise and go down to the potter's house, and there I will let you hear my words." So I went down to the potter's house, and there he was working at his wheel. And the vessel he was making of clay was spoiled in the potter's hand, and he reworked it into another vessel, as it seemed good to the potter to do. This is one of many times in the book of Jeremiah, and actually throughout the Bible, that the prophet becomes part of the prophecy. God didn't just tell Jeremiah what will happen, he shows him what will happen. Jeremiah gets to see and experience a living metaphor that represents the impending judgment of Israel. The point of this experience is to show Jeremiah that God is the potter and Israel is the clay. God was preparing Israel for destruction, but he was willing to change his mind. It is in God's power, and it is his purview to shape, to reshape, to destroy, and to reform according to his own judgment. That's the idea of verses 7 and 8. If at any time I declare concerning a nation or a kingdom that I will pluck up and break down and destroy it, and if that nation concerning which I have spoken turns from its evil, I will relent of the disaster that I intended to do to it. This really is an amazing idea. The Lord had resolved to punish the inhabitants of Jerusalem, but he acknowledges his mind could be changed. He knew what would happen, but from our perspective and from their perspective, the outcome was flexible. They got to choose what they would become, even though the Lord did know what they would become. The pottery theme continues in chapter 19, starting in verses 1 and 2. Thus says the Lord, "Go, buy a potter's earthenware flask, and take some of the elders of the people and some of the elders of the priest, and go out to the valley of the son of Hinnom." So Jeremiah is supposed to bring a clay flask and take the leaders of Judah down to this valley of Hinnom. When they arrive there, the Lord tells Jeremiah what he's supposed to say to them. This is Jeremiah 19, verses 7 and 8. "And in this place I will make void the plans of Judah and Jerusalem, and will cause their people to fall by the sword before their enemies, and by the hand of those who seek their life. I will give their dead bodies for food to the birds of the air and to the beasts of the earth. And I will make this city a horror, a thing to be hissed at. Everyone who passes by it will be horrified, and will hiss because of all its wounds." Finally, God tells Jeremiah what to do with the flask. This is Jeremiah 19, verses 10 and 11. "Then you shall break the flask in the sight of the men who go with you, and shall say to them, 'Thus says the Lord of hosts, so I will break this people and this city, as one breaks a potter's vessel, so that it can never be mended.'" The Lord's declaration is that Jerusalem would be destroyed as a flask that is broken and cannot be repaired. The idea is that God's judgment against this city and these people will be severe, it will be total, and it will be permanent. So what does that mean? In what way was Jerusalem broken beyond restoration? This prophecy means exactly what it says, especially from the perspective of the original audience. The people of Jerusalem who were carried away into captivity never came back. That generation was almost totally annihilated. There were some children who returned, I think that based on Ezra chapter 3, but the adults, that is the responsible generation, they never came back. They would never again see the splendor of Jerusalem from their perspective, from the perspective of that original generation. The destruction of Jerusalem really was total and permanent. It also seems likely that this prophecy foreshadows the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD. At that time, Jerusalem was fundamentally changed. That city has never recovered and never will recover. Today, the city of Jerusalem is just a symbolic relic of what used to be the center of the Mosaic covenant. The temple, the altar, and the Levitical lineage is gone and it will never be restored. In this way, Jerusalem that used to be cannot be reformed, and it doesn't need to be reformed. God's covenant is no longer centered on a place, but rather on a people. Those people like you and me who have put their faith in Jesus Christ. Thanks for listening.